Hi everyone, it's Bitcoin here from
The Big Jabowski.
You may be wondering where my Grand Arena videos have been. Well, the first one that I missed in the last round of the first week, up against a guy called Tel Kontar who had 1.1 mil more GP than me. During that one, I actually had two game crashes. The first one was with Rage Jedi Training up against Bounty Hunters, where I simply got the error upon going into the battle and everything was gone. And after that, I actually went in with Geonotions, and somewhere halfway through the fight, I don't know if my laptop crashed, if my BlueStacks overloaded, or if the game simply got stuck, but it seemed to be a mix of them, and that ultimately led to the game getting stuck. And then with about 20 seconds to go or something, I got out of it and managed to pick off one more character. And yeah, that was also required to be a cleanup. So I took 3 attempts there, but he never managed to one-shot my General Skywalker or my Darth Revan team. He took like 3 or 4 attempts on each to try to get through them. So it was a very comfortable win for me, but I just didn't have any footage because the whole thing crashed. And yeah, just been having laptop issues in general. And I do record through BlueStacks on a laptop, which is just a perfectly fine modern MacBook Pro. But BlueStacks just takes up a ridiculous amount of resources. And I'm also, when I usually record, I'm in a part of the apartment here where the internet connection is, I'd say, the weakest. So that might play into it as well. So now I actually moved over to the bedroom where hopefully it's going to be a little bit better. That will have to work. And then in the last round, I actually figured, okay, it's got to be an issue with my laptop. It's been resource intensive in the past and I've had lag, so why not record on my phone? Not realizing that if you record it on your phone, it does not really like very long recordings. It's possible, but sometimes it will just randomly shut off and never actually save the footage. So I pretty much spent 45 minutes talking to my phone doing a generally perfectly fine Grand Arena that I can show you in a moment, but then it didn't save anything, so yeah. So that was up against a guy called Solid Man. He had a Relic 7 Jedi team. Relic 7 Bounty Hunter team, pretty odd one. And I had to fight that one on defense actually, so I can show you what happened there real brief before I get into the match of today. So he could not get through my General Skywalker team. He did not even attempt it. One shot the Grievous team over here. And then he took 3 attempts up against my Night Sisters because he didn't really have a good counter there, I guess, as he might have used Padme over here. I'm not quite sure. Then on his defense, I fought a Shaq Clones team, and this one was actually the loss that I had during the match, or I would have had like 1935 manners. I sent Malak in against this, and normally seen Malak has no issues handling a Gear 12 clone team. Mine is Relic 5, has like 200k health and protection. But somehow he got killed pretty early into the fight, and that never really worked out. So I was quite surprised, because I've seen people use Malak up against Relic Shaq clones up until recently, but for some reason this didn't work out this time. So I was surprised, but good to learn it in a match where it doesn't matter. The others weren't too much trouble. Then over here in the bottom, that's where I got through first actually. He set a Gear 11 Grievous team, and then he had a Qui-Gon Jinn Jedi team. You don't see that a whole lot anymore. I used my Geos up against this, and I could have actually auto-played it, but I did it manually, which took pretty long. But managed to get through it because of the Barris. And then in the back, this guy did the same as always. He set his Bounty Hunters, though this time with Bosk lead rather than Django lead. And used Padme up against that. When Django uses Big Rocket, my GK lost his protection stacks, or... Actually, it might have been Boba. Yeah, Boba executed. GK lost his protection stacks, and that was about as much damage as got done to me. For the rest, I just picked them off really easily. So if you ever fight a high relic bounty hunter team like this because your opponent invested super heavily into it, then Padme is an option that you could consider. You just gotta be careful about Boba's execution and about Django's rockets if you don't happen to have protection up for a moment, as both of them can go for any target that they want. So just something to keep in mind there, but it can be done. I've also seen it go wrong though, or seen people use bounty hunters like this on offense to kill a Padme team. So careful with that one, but it can be a good match. Then against the fleets, I actually had 69 banners, which is the highest I've ever gotten in fleets. And also in the other round that I missed, I had 68, I believe. So pretty happy there. Now, all of these opponents tend to only have one of the stronger fleets, the Negotiator or the Malevolence, and they tend to keep the stronger one for offense, which is pretty good for banners on defense. So, a bunch of talk about the previous rounds. Let's look at this round. Up against SF Kai Fi from the guild Starforge Endor. Now, he's got a relatively low fleet arena rank, so maybe he's in a very competitive fleet arena. His roster itself is preloaded with Ray Jedi training and Finn upgrades and such, so that's why he's matched up against me. He's got, even though he does have a fair bit more GP, but for the rest, there's just not too much to it. Other than this Relic Force Sith Empire Trooper that I need to be very wary of. Just kidding. General Skywalker here still at 5 stars. So yeah, it's pretty easy in the regard of relics, I would say. Let me just check. Yeah, so in terms of speed, he's alright, but it's mostly just hurting him that he has put relics into his resistance. Now this guy tends to do mostly the same, but he likes to change a few small things up. So let's see what exactly he's done. He has not attacked yet. Okay. So I'll show you what I did. Grievous up top here, Geos as well. EP, nothing too special. He has a very weak Jedi team, so when that happens, I like to set Grievous with Newt, because a lot of people think that Newt makes it easier somehow and that they can take it out with a mediocre Jedi team. But in practice, that's really not the case at all. What's also nice about adding Newt is that when people decide to use their Padme, then Newt can really hurt them with the extortion. So that works pretty nicely as well. So overall, that's a really nice combination if your opponent isn't going to use Night Sisters or doesn't have a good enough JKR team. Some of the people out there just rely on using Jedi Knight Revan up against something else and then sending Darth Revan or Padme in on Grievous. But yeah, if you preload your roster with Resistance or First Order, then it's pretty difficult to be able to do that because you get opponents who have General Skywalker teams. And if I look at my opponent's history, for example, he doesn't really get to fight this very much. So as a result, it's difficult for him to be able to get through. So anyways, that's my front wall. Back wall is just junk and a Malevolence fleet. Then his defense over here, he's got his General Skywalker team, which I still need to be just as careful of with a Relic 5 Echo. Those second grenades are very deadly. Then he's got a First Order team with Barris. Newt over here with Nest and Watt. And then up front here, his Grievous and his Night Sister team. Now what's actually interesting is like he changed this up from what he usually does. He usually sets some other stuff in the front here like CLS. But what I think he's trying to do is, or might be, and I think it's an interesting point of discussion before I get into the first battle. What you really want to think about when you set up this front zone is what can I do where my opponent basically needs to make a decision between which counter they want to use. Now some teams have very obvious counters. You might see your opponent's roster and know exactly what they are going to use up against your team. For example, if my opponent, like if he would look at me and he would see my history, he sees his General Skywalker team, then he knows I'm going to use Padme over here. That's pretty obvious for him. So if he would put General Skywalker up here in the front, then he knows that I'm not going to have any kind of difficult choice. Basically what I'm trying to say is the teams that you want to set in this zone here, which opens up the back zone, which is pretty much always what you want to do first. This is where you want to put the kind of teams where your opponent has to make a tricky decision without knowing what's going to be in the back. And even something as simple as Geos can be interesting here in the front, simply because if your opponent decides to put Padme behind that, you might be hesitant to use your Traya against that Geo team, because maybe you'll feel like you need it in the back. That depends, of course, what else you set in your front wall. Because if there's nothing that requires any kind of meta team, then people could just use their General Skywalker or whatever up against your Padme. And there are definitely different kinds of counters, but I'm just trying to convey the theory here of how you want to decide what you put in the front here. So if I was him, for example, just based on the front wall, I would have definitely put Newt over there at the bottom. and probably the First Order team as well, because then I have to commit, okay, Ray Jedi Training can probably take that out, but maybe I would want Ray Jedi Training up against something else, or try to bait me into using my CLS up against that and timing out on it. So there are different things that you can do rather than just setting the teams where my counter is going to be really obvious. So with that said, let's get into the first battle up against Night Sisters. And over here, I'm going to be using Bounty Hunter's What, which, if you looked at my history, could really easily devise that that's what I like to do. And then we can get the party started after a bunch of talking, but I felt like it was necessary just to do a quick catch-up. So hopefully the connection and everything is way better than before, because I refuse to lose Grand Arenas to game crashes and such. That's really depressing, and I don't wish it up on anyone. So I like to ability block Talzin first, so that she never really gets the AoE off and doesn't really hurt my What. Burn everyone, and Dengar, the one who gets stunned here. So it's really tempting with 4 debuffs to use the execute. I've said this many times before, don't do it, because you're not going to kill, and you really want that first execute to be a kill shot and not make any progress, because getting that execute back for the second time, it's pretty slow. But because of the weapon tech as well, Boba immediately takes another turn very quickly. Now there are only 2 debuffs, but it's a Gear 12 Mother Talzin at about 60% health, so I'm going to get the kill here. Normally seen she would have a little more debuffs, but in this case she didn't. So now I can start working on Asajj a little bit, probably strip the Foresight from Spirit, if it's a higher relic Spirit. In this case it's not, but the AoE can nicely do that here. Not really any reason to use the group attack with Bosk at any point yet. And now I already have the second execute up here, and before Asajj managed to build up a whole lot of health, I could already pick her off, so that's nice. Now this is the reason why I initially didn't have so many debuffs, because Dengar didn't manage to take a turn with that early stun there. But as you can see here, What was never really in any kind of danger. That's pretty nice as well. But if you don't bring What, then yeah, this becomes pretty critical when you use that initial execute. That is the #1 thing, because it makes or breaks the match. Whenever I've had trouble in the past, it was because I didn't get that early kill shot, because there were just not enough debuffs on the character I was trying to kill. So now I'll probably want to go after Zombie, because I have to get Old Daka out here, and her health is probably looking decent. So now you could see, if I try to execute this, 5 debuffs, but it's a Zeta Daka, actually got the kill there. That's surprising. I thought it wasn't going to be the case, but Gear 12 and Relic makes a pretty big difference. So for me, like, this is a really simple opener, don't really need to think about it too much. Then we've got the Grievous team over here. I can just send in my JKR there, Bastilla JKR in my case. And again, it's not really a counter that I have to think about. So right now I'm pretty curious what's going to be happening with General Skywalker and What, as the counter is starting to go around, where people leave out ARC Trooper and then put in their Wat Tambor. And because of Rey's AI being hard-coded to always go after 5s when he has the taunting tech, but General Skywalker is still standing and not toppled, then basically 5s eats all of the whirlwinds from Rey. So people are basically able to use this poor hard coding that CG implemented to mess up this Galactic Legend team, which is, I think, super cool. It's a really genius counter, but of course CG isn't going to let that be a thing, because they've already posted that they want to do something about it. The big question will be what exactly they want to do about it. That's looking pretty ugly. let's see here. I have to be wary because Droideka is about to take a turn, and if he goes for Jolie, then I could actually lose this one. No, it's Bastilla. Okay. Then again, it's a Gear 12 Droideka. I do have very strong Jolie. But he definitely needs to revive someone here. But you could see here, he's perfectly tanking that big hit from Grievous because of all the tenacity that he has on him. It's pretty annoying to be stuck behind Droideka here rather than B1, because if I went for B1, I could at least drop the stacks on him so that he would not make Grievous hit as hard. And Jolie will need some help here because he has a good chance of going down. So actually interesting, because it's, for my experience, not a very strong Grievous team, but it's giving me a little bit of trouble here due to the see, I've still got 4 turns for the cooldown here, so that's pretty big. Yeah, just due to the way it played out. I did chain up 2 kills there really quickly. I usually like to not do that, but in this case I didn't really have a choice with having to go through Magna Guard. So having a weaker Magna Guard there can actually make things really tricky. Let's see, do I want to AoE? I don't really want to drop Grievous again. Also, the fact that Hermit Yoda went out at the same time didn't really help, or I could have done an extra assist on the on Jolie so that his cooldown would reduce further. I'm just thinking here if I want to. Bastilla definitely needs to dispel this. I don't think I want to go for B1 because an AoE now would definitely kill me. So instead I'm going to get some protection up here. This could be an AoE. Now I use this move, and then I hopefully stun him. Nope. Okay, that's not good. Maybe reduce the turn meter. That's maybe a little bit too much reduction. Wow, this is a very close call. Hopefully Hermit Yoda can heal. Someone's going to die here, and I hope it won't be Jolie. Okay, JKR can be missed. Not really ideal because the direct focus is pretty important here, but that's okay. Still no heal yet there. Let's see. Reducing the cooldown doesn't matter very much at this point, I think. It's more important to try to stay alive, and Yoda can share that protection up right now. Yeah. So one of my recent videos was called Less Talking, More Banners. Yeah, I should try to make a point of that sometimes. I'm not the best multitasker in the world, for sure. But then again, I am recording videos and I like to not just be dead quiet for an hour, so this might actually end up killing, and I wouldn't really want that. I'd rather get the revive, so I'm not going to use this right now. Hopefully this won't kill. Damn. I was hopeful that I could bring JKR back, so that's pretty ugly in banners, but it's okay, it was still a win. Was a bit of a risk there. I wanted to reduce the turn meter, but in hindsight I didn't really need to, because I think Jolie was still ahead of Grievous. But even then, if I would have done the revive, I don't know if I would have been able to take a turn before Grievous, and he would have just killed someone again. So I think I was just a little bit stuck there in trying to get too many banners. Interesting. So no CLS on defense this time. That's historically a team he always put down. And somehow I had a feeling that he wasn't going to do that because he likes to change something up based on the opponent. Now what's interesting here actually is the Karth team on defense. He has historically very often used this on offense, which is not really my first pick for an offensive team. Like, he literally puts Wampa into it as well. Now I have the same team but with Juhani over here. Definitely prefer this version, but Canderous just never managed to get the gear that he needs. So that means that for me it's a pretty light defense that he's put down. So I can start splitting up Darth Revan probably. Let's just first go over against the General Skywalker team though. Use my Padme. Now, because it's a Gear 11 Shaq, a Gear 11 General Skywalker, I could consider putting Shaq in here so I can keep R2-D2 for my Jedi training team. But I'd rather just be certain of this win because I have so much left on offense. I even still have my Night Sisters, which I kept because I wanted to try something fun with it in case he put his Darth Revan on defense, which he historically did a lot. But seems like he went pretty offense heavy for this match, because he knew that he needed something to be able to break through me. So let's go with these. And because of that, I'm just going to have to make sure I don't lose any battles. Okay, protection up on R2 at least, so he can keep the rest of my team protected. That's pretty nice. And no stun there, that's also very handy. I don't really get this combination very often, where R2 is unaffected, but Padme is. But it's pretty nice for me. And you can see here the Gear 11 General Skywalker gets toppled way faster. Here already by Ahsoka very often. But they're taking a lot of turns here. I always hate this part where General Skywalker is already back to pretty much half protection before I've even moved. 16 stacks here, that should get 5s down decently far. Now Echo's second AoE is creeping up here, and it's not looking too good actually. I hope that both Ahsoka and Jedi Knight Anakin can still take a turn before, because this is not a kill. Yeah, this is not so good. I don't think I'll be able to get through. Yeah, damn. Okay, this one's about to hurt when Echo takes a turn. Although this is an immediate... That's not a topple. Wow. Okay, I'm okay. Good. That was a mild, stressful moment. The extra potency on Padme there really kicking in. Sorry, that was terrible. But it did really save my run there. Okay, so with that AoE out of the way, I should go for Rex. If you manage to survive Echo's AoE, it always becomes the time to focus on Rex first instead, because he is the next biggest danger to your team. Now, people used to go for Rex all the time after 5s, but if you use Padme, you really have to be wary of that second AoE. And now I had enough protection up, so that fortunately saved me, but it could totally go different. Now I have very little courage here, unfortunately, so I might even get a third topple. It's starting to look very likely because I did not manage to build up any courage here. Definitely going to do a group attack here because I don't think anyone else will move before he comes up. Yep, there we go. Wow. Okay, this one's dragging out like crazy. It's probably the longest Padme versus General Skywalker battle I've had. And it's weird because he's just Gear 11. But yeah, that's how things play out sometimes. So he's toppled. Now I can pick off Arc. I think I'm going to play with the smoke screen for a bit here for the final stage, because he should go down pretty quickly here with all the courage. So this can stop some countering probably. I could not see the damage there. I don't think it was very high. And that's a done deal. 53. So even though General Skywalker is just Gear 11, Echo is still very powerful, and you have to be careful of him. What do I want to use next? Let's take a look here. I can definitely solo this team with my Malak. What do I want to do with Night Sisters? We can have some fun. Let's see if I can fight this team here. Let me check which Zeta Kylo Ren Amassed has. It should be the leadership. People very rarely do the unique, because if I can just immediately pick off Kylo Ren, then I could Night Sister this team, and they would never really get to take a lot of banners from me, because this is the only guy who can AoE. And sure, you've got him who can reduce, like Dispel, and Kylo Ren Amassed can stun as well. but I think I might be able to preserve some banners if I do that. The other obvious option is clearly Rage Edit Training, but I don't have R2D2, so I'll be spending a lot of time trying to recover some protection banners. So yeah, he's got his leadership. So that could be an option. And I could just undersize with Darth Revan against Newt here. And then in the back there's still Bosk. I can just use CLS there, I guess. So I've got decent undersize options to get a good score so that my opponent doesn't really have a chance of winning. So that's probably what I will end up doing. Just Rage Edit Training over here. So then I think I'll do the Malak thing in the back first, just because I'm somewhat disappointed in my Malak getting his ass kicked by a Rex, well, a Shaq team rather. So let's do this one first. So let me think, what have been things that I've been trying to talk about in my previous recording that never really went through. One of the things is that I have actually decided to not go for Galactic Legend Rey. I've in fact decided to go for Kylo because I actually respect the Resistance heroes a lot. I think they're really great, and there's basically the comparison that I make. If I get Galactic Legend Rey, then I have one amazing new defensive team that's just absolutely top notch, but I don't care about the First Order without Kylo. It's just not good. There's just not much you can do with it. I know you can use it to take out teams like this for high banners. I know you can use First Order Watt up against Night Sisters, but I already have solutions for Night Sisters. So to me, it doesn't add that much value. But if I look at getting Kylo together with the First Order, that's a very powerful team. But if you then also have Rage Edit Training with the Resistance heroes, those can take out Padme teams, they can take out Darth Revan teams. It's not easy, but it's definitely a very strong combination. So instead of having only one good team, all of a sudden you have something way more powerful. And what I could even do then is just put my Kylo Ren Unmasked on offense to take, Galactic Legend Kylo on offense to take out a Galactic Legend Rey without struggling with soft counters and breaking up my entire roster. And then I can set most of my other stuff on defense, and even if my opponent has a very strong roster for the rest, I'm pretty confident that I can set something better than they can. So that's sort of the rationale there, and I think I have a way better chance of winning if I do that. So let's go for mission next. And then probably want to start going for Wampa because he's hitting for 30Ks, even though that doesn't really put me in any kind of danger. Let's not leave him until the very last. So yeah, actually going for Kylo. I also thought, like, for the longest time I wanted to go for Rey, but somehow I'm leaning more towards getting Kylo and just changing things up and doing something different than what I initially planned. And the only implications it has actually is that I farmed both Finn and Poe for quite a while, so I'm pretty far with them. Let me just go take a look at the feats. I think I did one already actually for clearing a zone. So if I just take that one off, I can move on to the next one. No, it was just winning battles on your first attempt. They don't have the one with the zones, do they? Oh, yeah, they do. Okay, next one. I should take this one off. So gain speed up 50 times. That one's probably not going to happen, but I do not care. So yeah, let me just quickly show then, because I'm randomly talking about my roster in between now anyway, as I'm doing these undersized battles. So I am currently at... Oh wow, what is this? Get out of my face. So I'm currently at 66 out of 100 shards for Resistance Hero Finn, 32 out of 85 for Poe. I have not spent crystals on shards at any point. I could have done that, bought 100 Poe shards, and I'd be pretty close. Then Sith Trooper here, I recently restarted him. Hux as well, they were both sitting at like 20-ish shards before I decided on the switch. So yeah, if I would have decided on a switch sooner, I would almost be ready right now, because I pretty much have everything else that I need. I have all the gear hoarded except for 200 of one of the Chirotech. But yeah, just deciding to go for Kylo now, then getting the resistance heroes up as quickly as possible after that, just to do something different. It might end up biting me in Grand Arena, but I think if I can pull it off to get the resistance heroes quickly, then I'll be in a very strong position with my roster, which not a lot of people might expect. Usually, I think if they have Rey, they feel like they have the superior defensive team, and Kylo might be more easy to take out, especially in multiple attempts. So hopefully I can trick up some opponents that way and fool them. So let's get back to my Grand Arena, try to finish this off. So far I'm just happy that nothing has crashed, nothing has gotten stuck, because I was pretty frustrated in the last one, 2 Grand Arenas ago, when that just ended up messing me up. So yeah, let's do Newt next. Although I'm thinking with the Night Sisters, what do I want to do there? Because I also still have those. I don't really want to do Night Sisters over here. There's too much AoE in this team. So I'm probably going to use it over here and then keep Rage Jedi training for the other one, or just not use her at all is also possible. So let's undersize this one then. Darth Revan. Bastilla Fallen. She's down so low because of the Zetas, it's weird. Speaking of Zetas, I'm currently sitting on 18 Zetas, I believe. That's the most Zetas I've had ever, I think. But there's just not really any reason to put them on anyone. Do I need Sith Trooper for anything here? I feel like I'm skipping over HK. Just gonna search like this because the scrolling thing is laggy actually. Sith Empire Trooper, he doesn't really recover any kind of protection. He doesn't need to take any big hits. It's just Django I need to be a little wary of, but he's not too high geared. So let's just do this. And it should be, in theory, fine. So what puts the health tech on Nest first? Okay, that's actually not entirely ideal for me. Spread some debuffs. This is going to definitely trigger some counters, but they shouldn't really bother me too much. Interesting, no counters. No Corrupt Battle Meditation, because everyone's already taken the fear there. Oh wow. That's a little bit more damage than I thought it would be. Perfect. We've still got a shock here. That should kill 3. Now I just have to be wary I don't get stuck on both of these. I didn't actually check the speed on Nest, so that's not so smart on my behalf. So maybe just spend a little bit of time on Django here to ability block him, wait for Nest to take a turn, and then she should go down. Wow, that was slow. Put the fear up. Okay, and now a big shot with offense up and 15 stacks. Perfect. That's what I was hoping to see. HK might end up losing a little bit of protection here, but I'm okay with that. 61. That's how I initially had it in my head. I just wasn't sure if it was going to play out this way with Nest over there, but that was fine. So now let's have some fun. Night Sisters up against First Order. Let's turn the freaking tables. So Asajj, Spirit. I'm actually wondering if just these two with Zombie would be able to get the job done, because Talzin's nice, but the thing is with Talzin, she her plague doesn't really add very much. I guess she has an extra AoE, so that could be nice because it calls in another Spirit and Asajj attack. But it's really just these 3 that I need to be able to take this team out. The only risk is that they start stunning other people than Asajj or Spirit, but let's try and have some fun. Let's do this. Let's just go undersize. is what everyone ever said before catastrophically messing up. Now I'm thinking, what could go wrong here? If I just immediately shoot out Kylo Ren, for the rest there's just no damage on the team. There's just First Order Executioner, and there is Kylo Ren Unmasked who can stun. But even if they stun and they attack one of the others, I do still have 2 revives from zombie. So I want to try this. I want to 3-man this one. 3-woman, rather, I guess. Not really an undersized team that you see very often. But let's see how it does. So my Asajj will go first. Definitely want to try to stun. Maybe actually Kylo Ren Unmasked himself. Barriss will obviously cleanse a lot of the things they try to do. This should be a kill. There we go. So it's just going to be a matter of keeping Spirit around long enough to pick all of these off. That's pretty much it. Okay, so they do go for various characters. But that's okay. I don't really mind if I lose the protection banners here because I'm obviously going in undersized. And I don't think there's really any way for me to not win this one. Could be wrong though. We'll find out momentarily. So let's pick him off. Do a tiny little AoE. I can already kill him. Starting to seem pretty laggy right now. Don't really know why, but let's hope it doesn't crash. Yeah, so it didn't really work out as much. I was wondering if they would keep going after Zombie, because she is by far the weakest, but they definitely changed it up. So because of that, I lost 2 protection banners here. I was hoping I could maybe only lose the 1 on Zombie. But good experiment to do. And it's still 59, so I could have gone for a 60 here or a 61 with Rage Jedi Training, but I'm okay with this, just for the fun of it. Fleets, let's take a look. Malevolence Fleet. Wow, you don't really see this starting lineup often. So that means this guy does actually have both of the capital ships, and he does have a 7-star negotiator. I wonder how much GP this guild has. Don't think I've really seen it anywhere around us, but he kind of needs to have that if he also has this ship. I think he only recently unlocked it as well, because I never saw it in his history. So congratulations to him. Bosk then here in the back with Baze. It's got the double Zeta. What do I want to do? I could go with Treya, Nihilus and Thrawn. Undersize it. CLS Han Chewie is another obvious choice. Rage Jedi Training could do it. Let's see what makes sense here. Base will be the Pretend. I can get decently high banners here if I don't mess up too much, so yeah, I think I'll probably do Treya, Thrawn, and definitely not Treya CLS. CLS Han Chewie is nice, but it's difficult to try to end with full protection banners depending on how all the turns and cooldowns work out, so I'm not a huge fan of that. Don't know if I need to bring Scion here really against this strength of team, but it might be smart just to mitigate a lot of the incoming damage. There's not a lot of AoE on that team, so my guess is that I'll want to kill Baze first, and well, actually they have Dengar. Dengar is kind of a pain. Yeah, the 4 of these, and then trying to end at 61 might end up being smartest. Rage Jedi Training also an option, but I don't really like to do it without R2D2. It just doesn't end very well all the time. So let's just do these 4. Not really my preferred option, I guess, but to try to get more banners, I think it will have the best chance. CLS can work great if it works, but I feel like more often it does not. So I'll start with a fracture on base here actually. I'll isolate Bosk. So that he won't be an issue. Though it's interesting that the taunt Zeta lasts through isolate. I don't recall the last time I did this kind of fight. Ah, there it goes. So it stays, but it's gone after it, right? I was going to be pretty surprised if it wouldn't disappear there. So first targets are these three essentially. Just want to leave Bosk until last. But I took his potency. How is he still landing everything? Let's do the Annihilate on Dengar because he is by far the most annoying. Even though I have to kill Boba twice, he's pretty squishy. Just Dengar constantly stealthing like a little weasel. Yeah, the AI could work on some timing there with the executes. I feel like they could have done a bit of a better job on some of those things, but I guess Boba was created a long time ago and they don't really want to touch that kind of stuff. But it would be a bit nicer if they were smarter about that. Okay, that's him gone. Then let's fracture base before he does an AoE. I still have max protection on these two. I'm going to start reducing cooldowns from here on out on Thrawn so that I can get more turn meter swaps rather than on Nihilus because I don't need the extra Annihilates anymore. See if I can recover some protection here. So first task is to get Nihilus back up, and then after that, in the end, hopefully Scion as well, or it's going to be a 60. There, they got their payout. Next target to kill will be Greedo, because base is just going to go down with the other attacks, I think. Let's fracture base. Or maybe I should kind of hold off on the fractures if I want to try to get to full protection, because it just means that you get less turn meter swaps if you're spending a lot of time in the fracture. I'm gonna save this one, I think, although I only need like one turn meter swap, so I'm not going to. Just one should be enough here. And if I can kill base, then Thrawn can get another turn quickly. I just need one special from Scion here and then one turn meter swap and I should be okay. So we still got the pain here, which he just dispelled. But now I can't quite get the protection back yet. But this last move should be able to help me get it done. So yeah, it's still somewhat laggy. Not a huge fan, but I don't really have any other options right now. I'm not looking to buy a gaming computer just to be able to make Galaxy of Heroes Grand Arena streams. It's not that I don't appreciate all of the subscribers, which there have actually been a fair bit more of, because Cups Van Han did a shout out in... Oh, look at this. It's damaging me. Cups Van Han did a shout out in a video about... where he talked about small YouTubers that he wanted to give some appreciation to. Yeah, I'm not going to get this protection banner here, am I? Oh, I did. Okay, nice. So I got a shout out there fairly early on into the video, which is nice as well, because maybe not everyone watches it until the end. And as a result, my subscribers went to from about 250 to around 400 right now, I think, which is pretty awesome. So it's very friendly of him to give a shout out to smaller YouTubers there. To help them grow their channel a little bit as well. And there were, of course, a lot of really awesome people not mentioned, which you can all find in the comments of that video as well. It's just not possible if you make a top 10 like that, which is not really a top in the end. It's just a way to be able to give people some appreciation, I guess. But But yeah, that was very nice. And if you're watching this video because you subscribed to me after that, then welcome. Hope you learn some things from me of what not to do and what to do in these Grand Arena videos. Should have some time this weekend as well to make the next part of my Grand Arena strategy series, so I'm pretty excited about that. I don't think I need to bring 5s here, it's just a 5-star Malevolence. These 3 should get the job done. And then these 2 reinforcements for the worst case scenario. Just don't want to push my luck too much in this last fleet battle, especially because in the last 2 fleet battles I had 68 and 69. Let's take a look. So I can start with the AoE here, and I think I'll actually go for IG first. Usually I like to go for the Vulture Droid, but let's see if I can pick off IG as well. Yes, he's gone. Although it was a little bit hard to see there, perhaps. So he will probably call in Sunfac first is my guess, and he just has all of the Geos on the bench. Which is like sort of a setup I haven't fought before. But you can see here why it's superior to have some Geos in the front lines, especially Sunfac, because he's just going down pretty hard here. Having 2 ships killed before even being able to call in reinforcements is bad news. But he's definitely going to get one in a sec. Yeah, I might as well use this. So what's it going to be? It's almost guaranteed to be Sunfac, right? Yep. I like to kill Sunfac first, generally, actually. Let's do the ultimate here. And just stick with the Hyena for now, because I've already made plenty of progress on it, even though Sunfac's kind of dying here. So it works out nicely for him because he does manage to kill my ship here. Obviously I'm not using the Houndstooth. That one might have survived. But I think if I would have gone with my kind of my preferred setup in Fleet Arena at the moment, which uses Ahsoka in the starting lineup rather than Rex, I think I would have done a little bit better here and not lost that ship. But that's okay. I think I want to use this one here just so I take out the Hyena. Maybe try to fish for a kill. Yeah, the lack of crits does not help one bit. And speaking of crits, I call in the best critting ship ever, which never crits for me. Obviously this is a Malevolence, so it doesn't do it here, but against Negotiator fleets, my Ahsoka just never crits. It's pretty atrocious. 64, I'll take that. It's a fine score, even though I lost the ship. And that makes me end up at 1928, which is pretty good. No chance that my opponent will be able to beat that, so I'm not going to come back around and show you the score. I can just do that in the final round. And speaking of the final round, the opponent is going to be really challenging, I think. There's these 2 other guys left. You have Kur Kanos here, who has 211k lifetime score, and he does have General Skywalker, but if you look at Opinionator here, he actually has a higher lifetime score than me, which I don't see very often, from a guild that we fought twice in Territory Wars and beaten twice. But yeah, he's got a really good roster. He has a little bit of GP over me, a few 100k, so I'm fairly sure I'll be fighting this guy. If the other one manages to beat him, then very impressive, great job. But then I can just show you the outcome of this match, though. Yeah, I'm not really expecting any surprises there. So let me just take a look because I'm already curious. So in terms of speed, it's not particularly impressive, and he has the preload on all the resistance characters. So I wonder if that's going to start hurting his lifetime score. In theory, it should. But if it's a very skilled player, they can definitely work around that. And so far, it seems like they have been able to. So yeah, looking forward to this match. It should be one of the more interesting ones in a while. And hope to see all of you there. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your Grand Arenas.